Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Jerremy Newsome on the line, and he's CEO over at Real Life Trade. Jerremy, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Adam, for having me. I really appreciate it, man.
So I appreciate you being on the show. I want to get into real life trading. I know you have a conference coming up, but first, I have to bring this to the world. We were talking in the pre-show, and I was like, Jerremy, I love you. You're the only Jerremy I've ever met with 2 R's in their first name. Tell us the story for Mom, please.
Absolutely. So my dad's name was Jerry, and my mom is a creative, very whimsically romantic person. So that's how it came to be. My name stands for Jerry and me, Jeremy. So that's why I
love it. I had to bring that to our audience. I'm sorry, Jeremy. I know we didn't talk about that, but that one was for Mom.
Okay.
That one was for Mom. Let's get into Real Life Trade. Tell us a little bit more about your company, please.
Yeah, man. Real Life Trading. So it's a company that I created a few years ago, back in 2014, to really just help educate folks from around the world a little bit more about the stock market. And I felt that over my collegiate career, as I was going into college and things like that, I just didn't feel there was a lot of good information about how the stock market worked, how to trade it, what it is, how it moves. And I also found there was very little excitement behind it. Most of the conferences or seminars or videos that I watched were all very boring. And I thought, man, how cool would it be if I could teach someone this information, but also do it in a way that they enjoyed it. And that's kind of how Real Life Trading came to be, more or less.
Man, that's awesome. So what kind of students, what kind of clients do you typically work with or typically gravitate to you? Because there's some people listening right now that are like, is a trading course right for me? Is it not? Am I the right fit? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, man. Thanks for asking. And what I would say, Adam, regarding my specific clientele, they're generally 45 and older, both men and women, predominantly men, but I want more women to be investors and more women in the trading market, in the trading environment. But usually they're approaching retirement. They have retirement on their mind, thinking about retirement, and they just want to know, how do I make my money last longer? So that's generally most of my clients. They're excited about retirement. They want to, quit their job relatively early. They don't want to work until they're 65 or 67 and then retire. They want to retire around mid-50s with $400,000 or $500,000 in their account and some other money on the side doing something else. They want to be able to generate revenue, generate cash flow from their account, but also engage their brain and use more of their, their capabilities and their skill sets of actually generating income.
What are some of, because you have a very defined niche, and I like that, because when you, and I obviously more are welcome, but doing this as long as you've been doing, niches and certain types of people come to you, and then the material and everything that you do gets better and better. So for your niche and for that age range and the group that you're currently working with, what are some of their common concerns or pain points? Because I know it's going to be different, right, from client to client, but, you work with enough people in the same kind of niches and you kind of see themes arise. What are some of those themes that you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. Realistically, biggest pain from most of my clients comes down to risk, because they have spent a lot of time in their fields. They've spent a lot of time at work. They have some money saved up. They just don't totally know what to do with it. They've read some books. They've heard about the stock market. They know a little bit about real estate investing. They're on the verge of having breakthroughs, but they just don't really know what to do next. They're just kind of like, I don't know. I have some money. I've worked 20 years. I'm an engineer, or I'm a pilot, or I'm a teacher or a firefighter, and they just don't fully 100% know what's next. And I don't say that I ever know anyone's career path or future or destiny, but my main objective is just to bring them questions they might not have thought of before. I realized at an early age, Adam, that one of my skill sets was not being afraid to appear really stupid. So in school, through my whole life, I was the guy at the very back or the very front of the class, always raising my hand, asking 3 or 4 questions every class. because it takes me a while to learn something. But once I get it, I've got it forever. And that kind of happens in this realm, as I found that a lot of clients that I work with, both men and women, again, all over the world, from Dubai to Hawaii to Australia to Germany to anywhere in the U.S., I figured out that a lot of them just need someone who can help guide them with good questions to find out what they want to do, how they want to do it, and also do it in a safe way, because most people know that penny stocks are a giant scam. So I trade mostly large cap companies, your Apple, Google, Facebooks, and I just know all the instruments behind how these things move as far as options and stocks and being able to protect yourself and being able to limit your downside risk and take advantage of short-term moves and long-term moves and just be smart about it, which right now is a very polarizing time to even bring up the stock market, because we're in a 25% correction because of the coronavirus. So people are truly in a panic mode right now, man, because they're terrified, they're scared. People who are about to retire have just lost 25% of their whole account, and they don't know what to do. And it's happened in 3 weeks. So this is one of the fastest pullbacks that we've ever had in history, in the entire history of the stock market. This is one of the biggest, fastest ones ever. So this is a really, really scary time, but it's a time that I really like to stress to people that it's all about knowing how the instruments work.
What does a typical engagement look like from one of your students or one of the people that work with you? Is it like, and I'm talking about length of time, by the way, is it normally like a short engagement, like a couple of weeks, a month? Is it ongoing? Is it what are your thoughts on that, just so that people have a good expectation when they follow up with you?
Yeah, that's a valid question, man. I mean, realistically, I always want to make it as short as possible in the extent of I want to make someone's learning as quick as they can. But generally it's ongoing because the market changes every single day. The educational aspect of the market, learning a little bit about it, understanding the procedures and the jargon and the terminology and certain instruments usually takes about 3 months. After that 3 month period of, okay, I got it, I know this, I have this tool, I came up with a really interesting concept for traders or for people who are interested in it to actually log in and watch me do it day to day. And so I have what's called like a stream, my screen as I'm trading. And I kind of discuss and walk people through my thoughts and opinions on the market and why I think it's going to do X, Y, Z and what's likely going to happen from here and so on and so forth. So overall, usually it's ongoing.
That's awesome, and I'm a fan of ongoing courses. So when somebody tells me that they're going to teach somebody everything and it's done, and in 1 month you're all set and just go, I'm like, that doesn't usually work. So I love when somebody says it's ongoing. I love that you're letting them have the real experience of watching you also do it. So I mean, there's no other way. And in my opinion, that's one of the best ways to learn. Let's talk about the conference you have coming up, Jerremy. So tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Oh man, thank you. The conference is called Money Grows on Trees. And the way it happened is I kind of fell upon the notion of how many weird phrases and thought processes and idioms do we have as a society all across the world about money. And the term money doesn't grow on trees is like a very popular term. Everyone's heard it, everyone knows about it, but very few people have investigated it because it's just factually incorrect, right? And the overall point of the conference is to get people in a room and, like I mentioned, do one of my talents, which is explore questions that we might not have thought of before and figure out how to generate our current skill set to become the best version of ourselves and therefore add more value to the world. And if you add more value to the world, Adam, you simply make more money. It's just always the case. So a perfect example, I have a gentleman. He lives in Las Vegas, and he created a podcast. So he reached out to me last year as part of a follow-up phone call from my event that I had last year, the Money Grows on Trees event. And he simply wanted to learn, how do I grow my podcast? He's like, hey man, how do I grow my podcast? What's some skills? What's some things I can do? What are some tips and tricks? And through a progression of questions, through just the general building of his idea and his outline and his thought process and his methodology of growing it, he was able to take some ideas, take some concepts, take some general basic ways to add value and become just a better podcast creator like yourself, Adam. Going down that road, if you can actually take logistical steps that are tactical, you can grow your value through anything that you do. And a lot of it starts in your mind. Just knowing that you're worth a certain amount of money, or just believing that you're worth a certain amount of money, or just truly feeling like you deserve certain gratifications or feelings or thoughts or achievements. All of these things can be a subconscious barrier. And if we don't know they're there and we don't ask the right questions, they'll never be unblocked. But if they do become unblocked, then they can absolutely push you forward and propel you to where you need to be in the future.
Man, that's awesome. So, Jerremy, if somebody wants more information on real life trading, of course, but also on the conference to get more info on that, I mean, what's the best way for the listeners to follow up with you?
Totally valid. I have a few websites, but the conference, you can visit any conference of mine at treesaremoney.com. So trees like the tree, treesaremoney.com, and that has all the details on the conference. It's actually going to be in the Turks and Caicos in May. I know a lot of people right now are a little hesitant about traveling, but it's my personal opinion that in the next 3 or 4 or 5 months, 4 or 5 weeks, all of this will blow over, and the event is actually towards the end of May. And we're going to be in a room with multiple people who have achieved liquid multimillionaire access and assets, and being able to share ideas and talk through challenges and struggles and goals and beliefs with people, man, it's going to be so exciting. So treesaremoney.com, reallifetrading.com is the name of my website for stock market education. And then, of course, jerremynewsome.com. That's just me, where I kind of generally post my thoughts and ideas and beliefs about things in general of life and love and pursuit of happiness.
Man, that's awesome. So, Jerremy, hey, just want to thank you for coming on the show today and sharing more about what you're doing over at Real Life Trading and also your conference coming up. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you had a lot of fun listening because we had fun bringing this to you. If you did, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast. Leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, then definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the comment section. Love to know what you're working on. And Jerremy, thanks again for coming on the show.